Today we have with us two very special guests. We here at Women Rising are sponsoring an organization called Musical Ambassadors of Peace. Hello, sisters, and welcome to Women Rising, where you can be empowered to rise to your healthiest, happiest, and most powerful self. They are a nonprofit that trains and funds musical ambassadors to travel the world to build cultural bridges, honoring and preserving Indigenous musical traditions, and helping those heal those traumatized by war. And I was drawn to them specifically for the work they're doing with those that have been rescued from sex slavery with the Yazidi women. Am I pronouncing that right? The Yazidi women? The Yazidi women. And so today we have with us Christina and Cameron, the founders of the organization. And I'd love if you would share with us about yourselves and about your organization and kind of what got you on this journey.
We kind of started in about 2002 when the Bush administration was threatening to go into Iraq. And we really wanted to open the eyes of Americans as to what a big mistake that would be. So we actually went into the Middle East. We went to Jordan. We tried to get into Iraq. The first time we went, we didn't end up getting into Iraq until the spring of 2003, which is when the U.S. had already got into Iraq, and it was right after the shock and awe kind of thing that we went into Baghdad and basically sang on the streets to connect with the people and let them know that there were a lot of Americans who were not behind this invasion, who just wanted to extend our hearts in friendship and connection. And, we made a lot of friends. We were invited to a lot of places. And it seems like music has this ability to just connect instantly with people, and what we did is we sang their songs. We didn't sing our songs. So when they heard us singing their music, it just, it's just like this little magic key that opens the heart instantly. So that's kind of where we started with this mission, was to connect cultures through the power of music. And later on, we started working with refugees, some of the Iraqi refugees that were in Syria. We started music programs for the children, employing Iraqi refugee musicians. And then we did some work with Iraqi refugee women in El Cajon, which is in the San Diego area. It's a large group of Iraqi refugees that live there. So we started doing drum circles with the women, healing drum circles. And we did that for quite a while. And it was so incredibly beautiful to see these women who had been so traumatized start to express themselves. Through music and dance and singing, and you can see their energy just kind of pick up, and then they become more alive. It's like, oh, this is my music. They're singing their own songs. They're playing their own rhythms that they'd heard from the time they were in the womb. And it's just a very empowering place to be. So, and then since then, one of our musical ambassadors who was working with the program with us in El Cajon, she is a native of Kurdistan, and she has been going, she's also works with victims of domestic abuse. So she's been going to Kurdistan, and she just called us up and said, hey, can you guys send some drums with me? And we got the order in quick and sent the drums with her. So they went to one of the refugee camps in northern Iraq, and we want to send more. I mean, there's like at least 19 centers there, and we've only supplied the drums for one center.
That was one of the centers that admitted exclusively Yazidi sex slave survivors.
Yeah.
Those 19 centers are specifically for them. So that's where our Yazidi support began.
I love that. It's so inspiring. You know, I got chills when you said that you know, were singing there to bring connection, you know, in that time of when our countries were at war with each other. So, you know, it's so inspiring and so powerful. And it's incredible the work that you're doing, you know, and I've personally experienced how transformative and healing music and dance is for myself. You know, I've experienced, you know, my own version of child abuse, and I feel like dance and music has really helped me transcend and release those traumas that I felt like were stored in my body.
Exactly.
And so I would love if you would share some of the healing and transformation that you've seen happen with the women from the music and the dancing.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've done most of my work personally with the women in El Cajon in the San Diego area. And, you know, a typical response will be something like the daughter coming up and saying, "Oh my God, I haven't seen my mother dance, you know, for, you know, since she left Iraq. I haven't seen her smile since she left Iraq." And we're bringing these, we're bringing them back, you know, we're bringing them back into what they remember their soul being. So, so there's all kinds of stuff like that. Usually it's that kind of thing that, you know, they've not felt free to express themselves. They've been closed in. They, you know, they've just been kind of hiding who their true self because of whatever, because of the trauma, because of the fear. So giving them permission and giving them a space to create musically is just, you know, it's life-changing for them.
And on our Musical Ambassadors of Peace website, you can actually see a video that our musical ambassador, Dilhwaz Ahmed, was able to obtain when she was leading the drumming and the singing and the dancing for the Yazidi women in northern Iraq. Now, of course, some of our past work in northern Iraq was not videoed because sometimes the society is so dangerous to navigate in that people just don't want their faces publicized. But in this case, Dilhwaz knew that, you know, for us to fundraise around our projects, we kind of need some video of what's happening. So she was able to obtain, with all those women's permission, short video clips, which are on our website. She also is on our website being interviewed by our Persian musical ambassador, Ari Honarvar, about the stories that underlie the suffering that these women experienced during their 2-year period as sex slaves under Daesh.
Did you meet any families that were able to escape together?
Zero. I never meet a family that escaped together. I met with families that 2, 3, 4 people are missing. Even a wife by herself, they kill her husband and they took the kids. Or a husband was in the city at that time when ISIS invaded the village, so they took their wife. Or a son is missing, or a daughter, or a kids. So no, I did not meet any family that escaped together, unfortunately.
Under Daesh, as their sex slaves, you know, the stories were unimaginably horrendous. So you can also hear some of those stories So you can see on our website with these video clips, where these women are coming from, and you can see their emotional release actually happening as they're singing and smiling and dancing now, finally liberated in one of these 19 refugee camps. And we only had the facilities for Delcois to bring drums to one of those 19 camps. And it was such a popular message. Wow, we're singing our Yazidi songs and we're playing and we're dancing, that the other 18 camps were like, where is our drums? Where's our musical ambassador? We want this too.
Okay.
But this time specifically, the drums work very good. And other groups keep calling me, Delcois, you ignored us. What about us? I say, I'm working on it. We promised them when next time we will go, we will take more.
So our ongoing projects involve fundraising over here in order to send Delcois back to start working with those other 18 refugee camps filled with women. And right now, things are touchy. There's enough military activity going on in that region specifically that she's having to time her trips in order to miss the moments of greater danger. Our work not only involves bringing the support to the women, but also, the inherent difficulties of working in war zones. So, it's tricky, but the mere fact that I personally have had Iraqi musician friends for the last 50 years gives me the keys to number one, have learned their love songs and be able to sing them on the streets of Baghdad, but also to make contacts through the networks of friends from Iran and Iraq and Syria and Egypt, Jordan, that enable us to meet the right people at the right times to do this kind of work. It's just a culmination of a lifetime of musical exploration.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. This is so powerful. I'm tearing up from my emotions because it's so powerful, I feel like. And, the fact that these women are coming from such extreme conditions and are finally, getting to feel their soul, to feel their culture, to feel themselves again after having that all taken away from them, I think is so important. Because, we think like, yes, these women, they need food, they need water, they need shelter, but they also need this so that they can return back to their soul and feel whole again by experiencing, this, art and culture and community. And, like you said, she hadn't seen her mother smile until then, which is really profound, because that's what gives people the strength to overcome all of that and get through it and continue living.
Exactly.
So, wow.
Different NGOs or relief organizations bring their own specialties. Some are good at bringing shelter, some bring the food, some bring the medicine, and we bring the soul nourishment and to help them actually, rediscover, as Christina said, who they once were and resume again. Because people who are imprisoned and tortured and enslaved end up having to put themselves 100% on hold. They're basically an empty shell, waiting with a little bit of hope that someday again maybe liberation will come. And of course, for a lot of them, that never even comes. They pass away, they die in the process somewhere. But for these women, they made it out. Now those of us who are good at producing ecstatic experience multiculturally, it's our turn to step in and help.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for being those cultural healers. It's so special. And speaking of, the cross-cultural connection, one of the things that I loved seeing was the cross-cultural performance that you do. As we mentioned before in the interview, I'm half Persian, and so I loved seeing, that interweaving of the Persian and Iraqi culture and bringing peace and connection through that. So I'd love if you could share a little more about the cross-cultural performances and cross-cultural connection.
Yeah, well, let's see. After we went into Baghdad, spring of 2003, we started to travel. We came back and we traveled around America, and we played mostly Arabic music to American crowds, and then we talked about our experiences in the Arab world to open their eyes to who these people were that we were bombing, because in my mind, the Arabic culture and probably the Iranian Persian culture are some of the cultures in the world. They're really the most misunderstood cultures in the world. People don't get who these people are because of all the negative media that they get. So what we did is we toured America, and we did presentations about the Arab world. We played the music. We showed pictures of the people that we met. We told stories, and the audience would just start crying, and they would say, "Oh my God, I've been so deceived by, these people are beautiful. The music is incredible." For one, I mean, this is music that has evolved over thousands of years. It's a little bit further than most of the music that you hear in the Western world. It's more complex. It's more, it has a real deep resonance that even when Americans hear it, it touches something. Even if they don't understand the words, it still touches something in their hearts. So we did that. We traveled, and then in America, and then some Egyptians found out about our work and invited us to sing at the Kouros Stadium. We actually sang at the Kouros Stadium in front of an audience of 60,000 Egyptians.
Wow.
And then we were on the Egyptian TV and whatnot, and people really got that, these two crazy Americans love their culture, love their music, and so it just opened up this incredible flow of energy between us and the Arab world. I mean, we were invited to many things, countless mothers and uncles and different people we were invited to meet because of that, because of our work. So it's really the essence is, if you're going to be a musician and you're going to travel and do this kind of work, you need to learn the music of that culture, because that's what opens their hearts. You can't go and sing John Lennon's Imagine, even though it's a great song. It doesn't open their hearts, like hearing something that someone's, that they've heard since they were a child, and these Americans are singing it, and they're doing it really, really well, and it just their hearts open up completely. So, we're all about this. Really respecting the other culture, not imposing our culture on them and saying, "Oh, we have all the answers and you need to listen to us from the Western world because we're so, whatever." It's like, no, you respect our culture, you sing their music, and you listen very, very deeply to what their experiences are and their ancient knowledge, because, you know, being Persian, you have a history that is like, oh my God, it's so, I mean, you had Rumi, for God's sake. You know, I mean, it's like, and the Arab world, you know, had Khalil Gibran, and, you know, I mean, it's like, there's this ancient wisdom that's been passed down in those cultures, and we as Americans, you know, and Europeans or whatever from the Western world really need to just kind of step back and really listen. And that's when they get, oh, these people are really interested in who we are. You know, they've taken the time to learn the songs. They're really listening deeply to the ancient wisdom that comes from our culture. You know, the Arab world is all messed up, not because of the Arabs, it's because of the colonial powers, and it's because
Totally.
you know, it's because the Western world has invaded them. You know, and Daesh, or, you know, if you want to call it ISIS. I don't like to use the word ISIS, but I have to, so people know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But, it's, you know, you don't want to take the name of a beautiful goddess.
No, I hate that they do that. That makes me so angry. I'm like, what are you doing?
Exactly. Daesh, we'll call it Daesh, would not even exist had the United States not invaded Iraq.
Totally. I don't even think that the current Iranian regime would exist if the U.S. didn't get involved there in the 70s.
Exactly.
And the Iranian people do not like their regime. The Iranian people and their regime are totally different things.
Exactly.
And it's like that because the U.S. had to get involved in their affairs.
Exactly.
And so, and then there's, you know, and a lot of people don't realize, like, what Iran used to look like before the current regime took place. It looks like a Western country.
I know.
You know, I share photos of what it was before, and people were getting angry at me saying, that's an American woman, and like, actually that's a Persian woman, and this is Persian culture before, you know, things got crazy. And, you know, and I like to say it's not even, I can't even say it went back to the Dark Ages, because Persia was never like that. I don't mean to digress on that, but basically I'm saying,
it is important for people, Americans, to understand this, because they don't get it from anywhere else. You know, it's not in the mainstream news. And Iraq was the same way. My friend Suad showed me pictures of when she was young in the 70s, wearing mini skirts, you know, like it totally looked Western, you know. And you know, they had an amazing educational system there. And women actually had free education.
Wow.
Say this under Saddam Hussein.
Wow.
Yes, women could go to university.
For free. We don't even have that.
I know. So, you know, I mean, it's much more complex than what we've been led to
The media portrays it to be. It's all propaganda.
And also back to the women, that we are always seeking to find the secrets that the women hold. You know, this is like the endless, powerful mystery for men and for women too. Women are looking to unlock their own secrets. And as we have traveled, we've felt in many ways that women we meet in Egypt, in Syria, in Iraq, and from Iran, you know, that they have incredible powers of ways of being in, let's just call it the deep divine feminine, that Western women are still looking for. So the media over here, of course, you know, thrives, you know, portraying the plight of Middle Eastern women as all negative. And of course, our work with supporting Yazidi women to recover from, you know, slavery, sex slavery under Daesh is is in line with that, and it actually enables people to want to donate to what we're doing, you know, and support us. But we know from our own personal experience that when we're in Egypt, we're impressed over and over again with the role that Egyptian women have in their households and their extended families. Their economic structure is nothing like the oppressed woman that Westerners would imagine. So
yeah. The grandmother, actually in Egypt, the grandmother handles all the finances. All the children, all the kids go out and they make money and they bring it back and they give it to the grandmother. And the grandmother is the one that distributes the money in the family. So, I mean, it's not, you know, I mean, it's not perfect, and it depends on where, you know, if you're in an urban setting or, you know, or if you live in a rural setting as to, you know, how much education you get and all that kind of thing. But again, I will say this again because, you know, it needs to really be heard on a deep level. The Arab world and the Persian world, these worlds are the most misunderstood cultures on the planet.
Well, by English speakers.
By the Western world.
Yeah,
by the Western world. So there's so many complex, you know, intricacies of how things work. And we just kind of say, you know, all women are abused, and which is not true. And but again, with Daesh, it's horrific. I mean, what these women have gone through, they're not only victims of sex slavery, they're victims of genocide. You know, their whole culture has been, you know, we don't have any figures really right now of how many people have been killed, but most of these women who are in these refugee camps, a lot of them have no family left. Their husbands have been killed, their fathers have been killed, any older woman maybe have been killed. The younger ones, you know, are singled out and used as sex slaves, and some of the very young ones, I mean, down to, I mean, Kouros said she knows of one instance where a 7-year-old was raped, and then some of the young children of these women, or the boys, quite often are taken, and the girls, and they're conditioned, and it's like a mind control kind of thing, where they're taught that, you know, Daesh is the way, and
it's a manufactured madrasa taught, was born to fight the Soviet Union in Afghanistan. These precepts were created, but you know, the people that we travel and do concerts for, you know, have never heard any of these other angles on the reality. And the fact that, you know, our musical ambassadors of peace actually go and sing and dance with people means that we kind of acquire, to a certain extent, the deep soul transfers from these people. So we become a credible source of information. And we've done shows in Venezuela, in Mexico, in Ecuador, in Panama, and of course in Syria a lot too. And of course, you know, people are just hungry to find out more, so that they can finally make a little sense. Because you know, when you hear that people have been taken as sex slaves, you know, you sympathize with them, but you also want to know, well, why? How did that happen? You know, it doesn't make sense. And so the musical ambassador work we do actually enables people to find out what is happening and try and explain it on a little bit more deep level.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that incredible and powerful work. It's so inspiring and so profound. And I love that you're also sharing awareness about Arab and Persian culture to all of the women watching, so that, you know, this is how we can create the change that we want, is by becoming aware and by creating connection. So thank you so much. And thank you for the incredible and powerful work that you're doing. I encourage all of the women to take a look at their website. It's listed right under the video. And you can donate directly to them there. And then we're also sponsoring them here at Women Rising. For all of you who want continued access to the interview, we are selling the continued access to it, and then we're donating proceeds from that into Musical Ambassadors for Peace. But if you want to donate to them directly, you can do so at their website right there.
You can explore the links on the website. Some of them will actually take you into a kind of a rabbit hole of the older websites that you could spend days in those websites, looking at all the stories about all the things that have happened.
We have, all of our trips to the Middle East that we've done, we sent out emails. So we have all those archives, so you can follow all our adventures by the emails if you want to, or you can watch videos of our experiences in Syria or Egypt or Iraq or whatever. But so yeah, there's a lot there.
I know, it's been so amazing to explore all of it and so deeply inspiring to see all the work you're doing. There's definitely a lot of videos where you can dive really deep into the work that they're doing. So I definitely recommend that you do, take action and go on their website and look at all the work that they're doing, especially if you're feeling called, because this is some really powerful stuff. A lot of us are here because we are unhappy with the current state of the world, and like doing this kind of stuff is how we can become happy with the current state of the world.
Exactly. And if anybody feels inspired to help with, helping us solicit donations or whatever, if somebody feels inspired to help us, let us know. Send us an email, with your ideas, and we would love to, connect with more people. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your incredible wisdom and the powerful work you're doing. It gives all of us here at Women Rising so much joy and gratitude to be able to support your organization. So thank you so much. And everyone here at Women Rising, please enjoy the rest of your day and take a look at their website. And thank you.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful day. Bye.
Blessings. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.